that being understood, being put out there for us all to really mull over and take to heart. There's no way to say it except for to say it. Thank you all. Our multiplicity of events and moments had leading to being able to play here today, all of the time getting to know you as players and getting to know these characters as often or as infrequent as that may be for these particular characters is appreciated. You all are a finite resource that I am very glad to have gotten the opportunity to know and get the opportunity to play with. This world that these characters inhabit, not just these characters, but the entirety of the world that they are a part of, the interconnective chronicles and the effects they have on the world is one of my favorite aspects of our play. Even if you don't continue to play them, even if you decide that, we've had enough, we've reached the end of the road, your characters, in my mind, will at least continue living on to their end, whatever that may be. The mark that they've left and the mark that you leave can't ever really be replaced. And I wouldn't dream of even attempting to do so. I just want to thank you all for your time, your effort, and your energies. We are in the earlier moments of our hard start. So we will dive right in, mise-en-scene, unless there are any extenuating questions, suggestions, hypotheses, or corners we need to round off. We're going to hit the ground running and cover as much ground as we can, because while it has come all too soon and taken all too long to get here, and it feels as if it has been a whirlwind romance that has lasted far too shortly, this is officially the Brew's penultimate episode. It is what in every other chronicle would be the season finale, where we have an epilogue to shortly thereafter to adjust to what will come after and put in our minds the many future steps ahead for these characters. So as much time as we get to live with these characters tonight, I'd like to dive in and see if we can keep them apace of the world around them. So, all of that long-winded gobbledygook out the way. Do we have any questions?
I think a few of us could probably use a brief summation of what has come to pass that will be pertinent, at least for this evening.
Definitely. A quick recap is part of the opening moments. It's brief, a Reader's Digest version, but if taken at face value, I assure you will be able to inhabit the moment, the reality and truth of that particular character. Certain characters who have had the opportunity of being away because of real life and otherwise will have a small few asides throughout the opening moments of play so that they can readjust, or to help them readjust into the mindset and truth of the characters that they own. And again, from the bottom of my heart to the top of my mind, thank you all for being here. Play really does mean a lot. If you guys can't tell, I am really, really excited to have the opportunity to nearly wrap up the first season of the Brew. It means a lot to play as a whole, and this was an experiment in a wider, closer, more intimate coterie. Something that had a little bit of something from everywhere, from all of the moments we didn't get a chance to enjoy or explore elsewhere, being had here. So, for those of you who we didn't get a chance to talk about it, the idea that's percolating in my brain in regards to how the Chronicles will be handled and could be handled is the migration of all of the Chronicles to a singular server to operate from as base. It's still not quite finalized, and it's still in the very much pre-planned stage. So conversations at any point during the next week, during the next month, can be had. So reach out when you have the opportunity, if you'd like. Now that we've jumped through all the legalese, we've established your inherent value and my appreciation of all of your talents and skills, with no further questions, I'd like to say that this is officially the Brew. Tonight's episode, the finale, the denouement of the Brew. It is titled Potest s Victoria, which sounds like a mouthful because it is. It literally translates, if you'd like, to death can be victory. And it's a sentiment that stands at crossroads to much of what we as humans, let alone these potentially immortal beings, hold as true and factual. Final death, true death, the death that allowed them to become as they are, in many cases, was the antithesis to victory. In many cases, death is viewed as a punishment for a life, for immortality not quite seized. It feeds into the very real idea that if you are not the lead dog, the view never changes. It's a clarion call and a battle cry for the rat race of the immortal games to which these individuals are held firmly. The only problem with that rat race is even if you win, you are still a rat. And death itself can be a reward. It can be a victory. It's a hard philosophy to really embody and take into themselves, but it stands as factual, if not taken personally true. In a similar vein, these individuals, these pillars of their local community, these owners of a domain, which is one of the few actually recognized domains in Milwaukee. There's the domain that Prince Decker gave to the mercenaries from Chicago or the Chicago area. There's been a lot of rumors and hints that may not be exactly what it is. There are the domains held by the Hakata, the family. There's 3 notably fairly large areas that are held by those gangsters and mobsters and Italians in European-styled suits. There's the ballpark, which Decker holds as his own. But other than that, underneath the practices of Prince Decker, there aren't many officially recognized and understood domains throughout the city. No singular kindred nor singular coterie is responsible for the lives and well-beings of anything and other things than themselves. The clothes are on their back, the walls within their chosen haven, and that's usually as far as domains actually go. There's a lot of pressure that the coterie has not quite felt because they are just moving into grasping and dealing with the adjudication and the administration of such a thing. And while the coterie hasn't had the time to grow accustomed to that power, to that prestige, to that damnation of being held responsible for a particular portion of the city, others have. Others greedy, kindred, seeking to claim what is someone else's, because after all, as many rules and traditions that the kindred obey, it can be summed up with don't get caught. It's not don't break the traditions. It's not don't do wrong. It is literally don't get caught. The second, though rarely ever taught, is you keep what you kill, which means never kill anything you can't keep. And the coterie as a whole has been viewed as potential victims. Their territory, their space, their ownership. A lot of the scuttlebutt has been, but who are they? Why do they deserve it? And unfortunately, in the kindred community, just like in our own, perceptions can become reality. And the implied rumors are they don't deserve it. The implied rumors are they can't hold it. The implied rumors, they are ripe for the taking. Which leads us to the coterie finally having a small moment to themselves. A small moment to plot, plan, prepare as best as they could. Were summoned to Millie's brew house. They were summoned to Millie's back room. There were information shared, information taken and given. And then the other shoe dropped. The rumors on the street of the coterie being weak enough for the taking. The rumors on the street that they don't deserve what they've been given come due. The call originating from points due elsewhere, notifying Millie that her child, her son, has been being used as collateral for the exchange of the rights of property for the coterie's domain. To subvert that, to avoid that, Millie agreed to work with Miss Rossi, one of the more notable members of the family, to act as negotiator, to act as agent, to keep that from being the final outcome, to argue and barter for the return of her son without giving away the entirety of the domain which they've been held responsible for. And while all of that was happening, Aaron, due to the many intrigues his fingers are in, was late. And Max, due to the many persons his fingers were in, pocket-wise and otherwise, was in fact late. So unlike our usual, starting either alphabetical or anti-alphabetical, we will start with both Aaron and Max arriving roughly 15 minutes after Miss Rossi has left to the meeting, the final, the first official sit-down of this particular coterie as they decide what to do with their domain. There's been enough time that passed that the feeding wasn't really a real need. It wasn't pressing. So the hunger that they feel is exactly as it was last time they graced our stage in our hearts. So we pick up with Aaron and Max arriving roughly synonymously.
Getting into the back room, take a look around. Is everyone just kind of present and talking, or what?
They were, Charlie and Millie.
I would say that Charlie and Millie were kind of, I think they were standing and they were facing each other talking about the person that had just left. And the rest of the group is kind of seeming like they're waiting for something because we're all trying to get the stuff together. Millie would see them walk in and go, "Well, fancy of you to show up."
Well, I'm only fashionably late, so, you know.
And I arrive exactly when I'm supposed to. So, how have things been? You all seem a little down in the dumps.
Well, that's fashionably late, and exactly when you're supposed to. It's about 15 minutes late. We've had a bit of a shake-up this evening and made some new frenemies, as it were.
Ooh, my favorite kind.
So, long story short, because I don't have time to repeat it again, technically, is I have a son. I birthed this creature, son. He runs my company in face only, and with some small responsibilities, which will be stripped probably when we get him back. He made some bad deals, and now somehow or another has been taken as bait and collateral in exchange for the domain. And to avoid having to give them the domain in response to getting my son back. Because I'm not going to just let them keep him. Is that we made a deal with a Miss Sophia Rossi of the Hecata to help me negotiate with the people that have him. Who also happen to run a chicken farm, I believe.
And who are these people that have him?
Cousins of sorts.
I'm going to need a little bit more specific information than that.
You're familiar with the feed farm on the outskirts?
I am.
Those cousins.
Ah. Storyteller, how much would Aaron know of these individuals?
That's a good question. With his fingers in so many pies and dealing with so many individuals, small to middle, some who are aspiring to larger effects on the city as a whole, which tact would be most likely for Aaron? The legal above board or the semi-legal and just outside of the view? I.e., finance, politics, or streetwise?
I would say finance is certainly his forte, so that's probably what he would try to use.
Excellent. Would you be so kind to roll your intelligence plus finance?
Hunger is 2.
I see. There's only one chicken farm that springs to mind. It is a company that is not actually a company. It's held roughly an escrow. It's a shelf company. It's a shell company. It is a profitable entity that several other entities use to funnel money into and out of. It is used as a hedge where a lot of money is cleaned and a lot of money is hidden. It's one of the many such companies throughout Milwaukee utilized by the family. Specifically the bankers, who are, as far as you can tell, unlike nearly every other family member, because they never seem to invest in anything that's not profitable. Their interest rates are through the roof, and as much as you'd like to say that you've never utilized them to clean, obtain, or otherwise finance some ventures, that would be a lie. They're a great resource. They're legal leg breakers. They're legal and illegal banks for a wide variety of individuals, both above and below board.
Would he know any of these people personally? Like, has he met them personally, or is it more of like a hands-off experience for him?
Oh, it's definitely a hands-off experience because of his rarefied taste. There's very little they might be able to do for him without him exposing himself to significant risk.
Gotcha.
Storyteller, let me ask you this. Did Max have any real interaction with them since he actually does do a lot of money movement?
Sure, let's give it a shot. Let's see what has in the last few years has Max had the opportunity of running across them. So let's go ahead and roll your wits plus finance. He's never had to think, and this is solely from his vaunted viewpoint with his home right off the lake, well, with his condo right off the lake, with his art studio walking distance from his condo, with his circulating and pinching funds. The only time that he had the opportunity of brushing up against that particular enterprise was when he sought to liquidate a significant amount of money without getting caught. To say that he felt dirty in doing so would be an understatement. He got the most unsavory of feelings from them, and if he hadn't needed it in his moment of desperation, he was sure that it would be an experience he hoped to avoid for twice his potential immortal self, because there was a decided aura that if he misstepped, if he was not able to meet their terms and conditions for the exchanging of funds, he was sure that he would be on the menu. He was sure that they would take their pound of flesh in an almost quite literal fashion.
Oh, those guys are nasty. Ooh, that's kind of rough. Alright, so far, I'm late to the party. Forgive me. What's the next move?
I say we need to give someone examples, make them. I say we should probably make an example of someone. One of these fucking pricks.
As much as I'm sure we would all love to do that, we do have to consider that the agreement is still in play. Direct confrontation is out of the question.
Fuck.
That being said, indirect confrontation is, well, anyone's game as long as we can't be caught. And as long as nothing can be provably traced back to us.
Did you forget the whole thing that I said about having an intermediary, with Miss Rossi? She's going to negotiate for us for a lesser thing, or maybe a major boon. Something like that, so that we don't have to give them the domain, which we wouldn't have done anyway, and probably would have gone in there, kicking in doors and getting shot.
Here's the problem with that. In the end, they're still getting what they want. Or at least they're getting something out of it. And all they have to do is just kidnap a relative. It sets a precedent, a dangerous one. And
well, seeing as how I'm sure most of the rest of you don't have any living relatives that I would think to. I think this is only a me problem currently.
Erin looks a bit uncomfortable when she says that, but tries to suppress that expression and regain form. As I was saying, if they want to fuck around, then we need to make sure they find out. So, what exactly is the deadline? When do they want an answer?
Within the next couple of hours?
That's rather hasty of them. I'm surprised.
Originally, they had given us an hour, as it were, but seeing as how Miss Rossi, like I said, is going to negotiate, it's now 2.5 or so.
Okay, so how can we make them bleed both financially and physically? I got an idea, but I'd need some time to set it up, though.
What'd you have in mind?
Well, I was thinking, since it can't be traced back to us, we can use some contacts and have a pop-up party show up at their front door. While they're busy trying to throw everybody out, we can actually cause some real damage.
I like where you're going with this.
We need some time to set up and get the information out so that everybody can be there. Kind of like how we all met.
Let me see if I can make a call and get that started. Unless anyone has an objection to this.
I'm not sure it would be a good idea.
Exactly. My son, if you forgot, is a human being. Mortal, can be killed fairly easily. So while all this ruckus is going on outside and we are attempting to slip in, as fast as we move, his throat is slit and he is lost to me. Let's not.
Oh, how
That's
about
only if they realize what's happening.
They're not idiots.
They were smart enough to lure him slowly away from me using financial arm twisting, and we hadn't even barely secured the domain when this happened, and now all of a sudden he's a fucking target, and they figured it out quickly.
It wouldn't surprise me if they have information on all of us.
Then we need to get some information on them.
Why don't we actually open up some business with them and then deal with them later? Since we're forced into bed with them, why don't we make it uncomfortable for them? And we can take care of them at a different time period.
Playing the long game is always an option, but doesn't solve the issue of the immediate problem.
True, but we can twist them into, since they're financial leg breakers, we can actually use them make a lot of enemies, and then abandon them, leave them to their fate. As they help us get rid of enemies.
Seems like y'all trying to come up with some sort of Einstein level master plan, and you got 2 hours to do it.
That's a fair point. We don't have a lot of time to cook up something that would really shock them.
Seems like it kind of all boils down to either you play ball or you don't play ball tonight, and then maybe you can do something about it later on. But
if you guys want shock factor, there's some buddies of mine I can call up. They'll happily blow up some fucking assholes hangar or whatever the fuck they do.
then that all blows back on us. Ain't no reason to be chucking cinder blocks into the fan.
You don't want to do that.
Why not? These guys aren't connected to me super closely.
Did you not get that they are dangerous enough to have a chicken farm, a pig farm, and be a feeding spot for those that can't feed themselves? So they're used to hiding things and killing things and making things disappear.
Isn't that what we all do?
Not to this level. You know how many bodies go missing? How many people just never return home? They are a major part in that. Especially in this area.
Y'all need to...
That it takes about a day and a half for a herd of pigs to fully eat a human, bones and all. And chickens, if you grind the meat up, they'll eat meat too.
It seems like we kind of got to play ball with them for now and deal with them later. That's kind of what it sounds like to me.
That's fair, but in the meantime, if we have 2 hours, I would still like to make a call to at least gather some information on them. Anything we can use to at least mitigate the damage done would be beneficial.
I think I want to do that too. I think I want to make a phone call and see if we can get some intel on these guys. I think I'm going to start with the intel, see what I can come up with, and you can work on trying to mitigate damage. How's that?
Sounds good to me. Millie, I know this is hard for you to deal with, but are you amenable to this?
Oh, sorry, I had a moment there. Yes, this is the plan we were originally going with. But sure, I'll make your phone calls. Call whoever it is you feel like might be able to be helpful. But do remind you that you, Rot, and Miss Rossi are the only living beings or unliving beings that know that I have children. The more people we drag into this, the more people we go asking questions of, hoping to want their own answers, and then what happens? you tell half of Milwaukee that I have living children. These people were smart and figured it out and took in. Imagine what would happen if I had to send my children away to somewhere else to keep them from getting hurt.
I figured you were going to do that anyways.
Why?
Because if these guys know, who else knows?
I was thinking at least 2 or 3 information brokers, as well as at least the guys who own the chicken farm.
A lot of us connected though. What are you gonna do? You gonna send them somewhere where someone else just exploits them and you can't do anything about it?
Exactly. Why would I send them away when one is currently the face of my company, 2, the other is important to local planning, and I would need them to be here for specific reasons. So no, we cannot send them away.
Go ahead, Charlie.
A shame we can't just stick some lupines on them.
Yeah, that actually has some help.
Do we know where any are at?
I mean, if we did, they'd probably be getting hunted.
True. We'd probably be hunted by none other than fucking me, actually.
I'll put some feelers out.
Raiden steps forward and leans into Aaron's ear. He somehow, for a living, breathing entity, manages to modulate his voice so that all that comes across is the fact that he's saying something, not what he's in fact saying. And then he leans forward and smiles and inclines his head and steps back to his position, guarding the door and guarding Aaron.
Molly, do you mind if I have a word with you for a moment?
Outside, I presume?
That might make it easier.
She will stand up out of her chair. Lead the way.
We'll be back in a few minutes.
Millie is looking at their retreating backs like, are you fucking kidding me?
Oh, you gotta give room for passion. Their unbridled passion must be given space to breathe.
You think they're all making out?
Oh, what else would you want to do with a woman?
Fang.
Millie just like staring at the lot of them. Like, Oh my god, what Shakespearean comedy did I stroll into this evening? Because of the questions that were raised, she's just like, what?
As Aaron and Amalia step out of the back room into the hall, Cullen, dressed in his uniform, his coverall, far dustier than it should be, comes moving down the hall, a permanent frown that's on his face, somehow deeper and firmer set into his visage. The clanking glasses clinking against each other as he has the most curious look on his face as he walks past Aaron and Amalia, pushing the door open with his boot and pushing the cart into the room, closing the door behind himself. Miss LaRue, Black, I can't say this, and I do apologize with all of my heart. Something has happened to the book. This is no book. And he pulls the oilcloth off of the clinking glasses on the cart. There are several growlers on the top of the cart, along with several glasses. The moment that he removes the oilcloth, anyone who has a hunger of 3 or higher, please roll 1/3 your humanity plus your unspent willpower, DC 2.
Max takes a clone scented handkerchief from his pocket. That blood?
That is not a bit of a squirt from someone's balls, now is it? This is no bark, I tell you. It's mixed with something that's so thick and viscous, it might as well be fucking oil. But it smells entirely too much like iron for my sake. And based on your response, I'm guessing it might be just that.
Millie, I think that's interesting. Mind if I test it?
Got blood in it.
No, but it is what I'm more concerned about.
Sure, if you want to go drink the poison, drink the poison. Who am I to give a shit about it? But
walks over there very hesitantly, dips his pinky finger into it, rubs it around, smells it. Is it vampiric?
Do you have Bloodhound?
I'm pretty sure Max does not, but I figured that it would have a different feel to it if it's vampiric and a different smell.
No, remember it's been mixed in with whatever a Bach is, which, based on you being in a tap house in the brewery, is a style of beer. It's not a Kolschort, a Pilsner, or anything that you've seen easily at your parties, because most of your gatherings don't do beer or mead. It's typically wine or occasionally vodka. There was that one where you had that local gin distillery host the party, and strangely enough, with all of the herbals that were in it, it actually smelled the most like something that you'd be willing to risk the later vomit over. There were all sorts of botanicals and a fresh citrus feel to it, unlike the vodka, which smelled like rocket fuel, and unlike the wine, which smells like moldering grapes to you. That had enough other things mixed into it that it had an interesting scent that you might have been willing to risk it for Trisket over.
Okay, Millie, there's one or two options here. I was hoping maybe I could kind of figure out what the smell came from, but it's one of two things. Either A, this was your negotiator, or someone else, but I can't tell who.
Millie looks at him with her brow raised and then turns to Colin. So she stole the keys from you, did she?
Nah, no one's stolen the keys from me, but the entirety of the bar staff has to have access to the vats. And this is last season's back. We've only done it 3 years in a row, and it wasn't that great of a seller. And so we stored it.
But then you're also forgetting the fact that who sent you to look for that bottle?
I've not forgotten that. Very presumptuous of her. Tall, dark, and pale. That's a bit insulting. I'm not someone's go fetch it. Well, I'm your go fetch it, but I'm not someone else's go fetch it.
I believe the young ones would say that's a strange flex, but on both of your parts, on your part and her part, because obviously she knew it was down there somehow. She said it was to keep you busy, mind you, because knowing her business and our business like she does, she knows what we keep in tap.
So is that blood beer?
It would seem so, Charlie. It would seem so.
I'd wager it'd be just that. When you have to give it a quick kipper to make sure.
Well, fuck it, I'll drink one.
Moving forward, take one of the already poured glasses. Holding it up, it is strangely a very well-made bock. Looking at the glass and Charlie being a beer drinker during life, it is almost perfect, even with the pollutants through it. It's a nice spongy ivory head. It has a slight amber appearance to it. Outside of the slightly increased viscosity, all of the right notes are there on the nose. A slight hint of wood. You got a little toasted malt, maybe bread crusty on the nose. And it's the sort of thing that you are embarrassed in front of this crowd to be so knowledgeable of. The fact that you actually understand what beer is supposed to look like, what it's supposed to taste like, what it's supposed to smell like, is, as Millie just said, a very weird flex in this crowd that at best probably only drinks hard liquor during their living days, or maybe a glass of wine or two.
She'll go ahead and take a swig.
Oh, that's good. It's crisp, just cloying enough to give you the taste of it as it slides down your throat. And then there's the extra boost of a slight melon note on the tongue, a slight sweetness that it's backed by nothing but copper goodness. It is a very fine vintage of blood, vitae, the combination of the two.
Wow, that's good. You got something here.
Well, I've got nothing. I didn't cut myself open and bleed into the vat. This, you don't get it. We were coming up on the beginning of preparing for the hops for this. This is only through March until May. This is a particularly seasonal beer. The fact that we have any left at all is a miracle. Normally we go through it, but not this particular batch. It was too well made for these gaffers who don't understand what good beer actually is.
Oh, it's worth a lot more now, I guarantee you.
speaking of a lot more, while all of this is happening inside the back room, outside in the hall, or did you all continue moving out further away from the door, maybe further into the tap house or stepping outside?
I would say probably the quieter the better.
Agreed. Yeah.
So you all find yourselves outside. Now, the funny thing about this particular brewery and its location is it's the idealized privacy, but it is easily accessible. There's a main street that you can see just across the grounds of the brewery, just past the house, just past the actual mansion that is on the grounds of this brewery, on the grounds of this restaurant slash tap house. It is its own private reserve right in the center of the city. Well, not center exactly, but close enough to the center of the city to be part of this downtown area, right off the murder corner, where you have no choice but to obey the laws of traffic lest you wind up at best in a hospital and at worst in a casket. It's weird hearing the sounds of the city move past at safe rates of speed. It's weird hearing the lap of the river less than an eighth of a mile from where you're standing as it brushes up against the brakes along that side of the property. It's weird being in a clear, calm Milwaukee night, knowing that there's so much at risk. The political ramifications alone could either make or break your name if word got out.
Malia will, once they get to their quiet location, look up at Aaron, since he's about a foot taller than she is.
I figured it would be best if we stepped away because it seems some of them are seemingly against doing anything at all. So I wanted to get some information and perspective from you, seeing as you are a member of the family.
Politics aside, I'm sure it's not a coincidence that the pater was here on the night that we found out that Millie's son was taken by cousins.
Indeed. I don't think it's a coincidence at all. What exactly do you know about these chicken farmers and this pater?
She is ruthless. Plain and simple. Beyond that, she's fairly quiet about herself. But you don't get to that position without being willing to sacrifice your own flesh and blood. Flesh and blood, however, is sort of the farmer's stock and trade, or at least for most of them, their preferred method of dining.
You mean they eat the bodies? Is that what you're saying?
Not the bodies themselves. But blood isn't the only thing that carries blood. Family reunions are always interesting.
The moment the words tumble out of Amalia's mouth, she remembers the last time, just after becoming as she is, just after the contract was effectively filled, the milliners of Milwaukee, successfully under the umbrella of the family, all of their duties being repaid by the sacrifice of her life, and she was called back east, invited to a Hakata version of an Elysium, a little small town just outside of Hartford, in the middle of nowhere, filled with limos and muscle cars and vehicles that the townsfolk could not see if they saved their entire lives to pay for a chance to sniff the intake of their manifold. The sort of vehicles that would indelibly leave a mark on the imagination. And there she was, in the midst of all of this finery and members from far and wide and farther still. And to her horror, those members there were all members, cousins, solely of the Dunsons of the family. There was stag, freshly caught. There were opening portions of porcine bits and bobs that were gobbled down as hors d'oeuvres. Nothing like watching a 250-pound woman crunch down into the carotid artery of a still breathing pig roughly 3 times her size, and it was treated as a sport, as if this was the thing to do. And then the host, and Mr. McAdams, who got the first bite of the first sacrifice of the evening. The screams that echoed off the walls. She can hear them clearly now. First the grandfather, then his wife, then his son and daughters, all of their progeny down the line, bitten and screamed and given the opportunity to fight for their lives, and as they were laughed at and heckled by the family members there, enjoying it for the sport that it is. Because the kiss from the Dunsern is just as horrible as every other members of the family, and they did so with all due enjoyment, watching, listening, taking part, and all because they foreclosed on the farmer's entire farm. He was unable to pay. And well, one way or the other, they will get their payments.
He will look lost in thought for a minute and shudder. Thing is, even with the Pater's involvement, I can't guarantee that he's going to come out in one piece. A debt is a debt.
Unless they wish to pass on the debt to Millie. What do you know about their operations, their resources, their comings and goings, anything like that?
That's really outside of my wheelhouse. I associate with you guys more than I do them. They're not exactly private. But unless you have a specific invitation, you don't go to family dinners with them. I'm not important enough yet.
You'll get there.
as frightening.
You don't want to be important? Is that what you're saying?
Oh, I just don't want to be invited to their dinners. One is enough. Thank you.
That's fair. Do you have any reason to suspect that the pater will take their side?
No. The discussion between two businesswomen was perfectly rational. She gains nothing by tossing the offer of friendship, so to speak, aside.
She could gain a domain, a foothold in this city.
It's too early for that. Couple more years, maybe.
What's bothering me about all this is how hasty what did you call these other cousins of the family?
Duncerns?
The Duncerns. What's surprising me is how hastily they're acting for what is supposed to be a family of bankers who collect debts over time, collecting interest. They want the haven, they want the domain tonight. Within an hour of a response, that seems so out of character for them. What could possibly be motivating them to act so hastily?
Not if they already had an idea of what lies beneath.
And what exactly does lie beneath?
It is amazing down there. Their homes. It's a city underneath the city. And with more exploration, there's an escape hatch to any part of the city you would want to go to, probably.
How many people know of this?
Just us. A couple of the others inside. But I've only really begun to explore down there. There's concerns too. There's possible, if legends are true, places for the wolves to come through and invade. There seem to be, again, if legends are true, portals for the fair folk. Not to mention things that I haven't actively looked for.
Next, you'll be saying that an antediluvian is sleeping down there.
Not here, I don't think. But, yeah. Consider. And this, I don't know. I would have to risk more. But remember what my family deals in.
Yeah.
And speaking of what the family deals in, as the beer is tempting and tantalizing Charlie to imbibe it all, because that's what Bach really is. It's beer, but it's a finer version of it. It has a width and range of variability and heft. There's deeper, darker box, there's heavier box, there's lighter box, but right down the middle would be an amber box that she holds in her hand that has the gift of the gods in it, the essence of life in it, which is weird because even with the few times that she spilled beer into her blood, or more accurately, blood into her beer, it still has not made the beer palatable. Normally there's a gurgling and a push to evacuate all of that viscous liquid out of the system, the body, the beast hanging on to the blood. But this settles warm and easy in her stomach. And while she knows she can't, she knows it's an impossibility, she can feel her pores, she can feel her cells, she can feel the lining of her stomach absorbing the entire volume of the liquid she's just ingested. Max, a lot of your gatherings, a lot of your parties are fraught because you have to mask the very real gag factor you have when imbibing the ash that they call fine wine. You have a problem imbibing and keeping it down. You need to sneak away and tastefully disgorge. The reason why most of your high-paying customers often believe that you are a teetotaler, or often believe that you are a straight edge, you don't do alcohol. That's some of the cover story going around in the gossip. It's hard to watch any person, any being, especially a kindred, imbibe, because you know what the results are for you and nearly every other kindred. It's not a matter of if, but when it comes flying out of that kindred like a rocket-propelled waterfall.
Steps out of spew range because, well, yeah. And I look at my watch and count down from 60 and watch Charlie to see when and how far she projectiles.
Millie, you've seen enough people get drunk on beer that the idea of doing so with the rest of your immortality has never appealed to you. Your refined and rarefied palate is so that you have to be extraordinarily careful what you put into the temple that is your prison. Watching Charlie clearly enjoy the consumption of that beer has certain things bubbling at the back of your mind, and none of them comfortable. And it's like watching someone swallow a snake, a live, wriggling snake that has chewed itself out of some cow's entrails. That's what's percolating at the back of Millie's mind. She knows what happens now. She knows what should be occurring. And she knows that this back room doesn't have its own supply closet with cleaning materials. There's no mop, there's no broom, there's no sawdust to soak it all up, there's no disinfectant to clean the area, and there's no deodorant to clear the air.
Originally, though, as they were talking about it, as they were sipping, I guess she was curious as to what was going to happen. She still is. The thing is, with her background in chemistry and natural curiosity as to how something like this would transpire or be created, there's also that trying to puzzle it out. Because as Charlie said, that this would make them a lot of money. And those were the magic words. So she's like, it would. But wait. And she's definitely watching the two of them to see what happens. Cringing a little bit and keeping an eye on Colin, but yeah, just waiting to see what happens after like about a good 2-3 minutes.
Hey, Charlie, how you feeling? Feeling like you want to go ahead and spew a little bit?
Nah, y'all, this is different.
Different how?
Like it's not just sitting.
I have heard rumors going around of a certain clan and other places brewing, and they have seemingly done it. They have learned how to mix latte with alcohol. That's amazing.
Well, hallelujah for that. This is good, actually.
The problem with that is to do such things. I don't have that knowledge. I would love that knowledge, mind you. She looks calling again, but I don't have that knowledge.
Do you think you can reverse engineer it? It's right there.
At a later time, I'd have to look into it more, but the thing is, this ties back into, she wanted us to know about this. So what is she trying to say in showing us this?
Maybe she's hinting at an arrangement?
Possibly. I still have to figure out how to do it, or how it's done.
Well, she must got the knowledge and you got the distribution, right?
That's what I'm seeing.
I don't want to chat. I almost said count chickens, but we're going to a chicken farm tonight, and that was in poor taste for myself, considering the situation. But if that is the case, then yes, I would be excited to get that kind of knowledge, and it would open up another revenue stream and foothold for the coterie. Because we could do something that fairly few can.
And there it is. Laid out in non-graphic detail, only hinted at, poked at around the edges. Remembering what Miss Rossi said as she left, I look forward to our burgeoning relationship and continued allyship going forward. As she clasped your hands and shook your hands goodbye before leaving. There it is in a nutshell. She does this thing for you. She negotiates the safe return of your child. You have proof of concept with just enough time to inspect it, to sample it, and ensure that it is exactly what it is. And before the end of the night, if everything works as planned, you have your child. What sort of fool would you be to not immediately leap on the burgeoning promise of that business? Serving both mortals and immortals, keeping a mutually excluded profit line from both communities moving into your location.
So, Millie, this lady that you're sending to go and negotiate for your son, how did you meet her?
She has frequented my brewery and the restaurant attached for many years, off and on, and also owned similar eatery, and though her particular brewing is coffee, if I remember correctly, We are both business owners and occasionally running into each other in loose circles, but mostly she's been coming here frequently in the past couple of weeks. I think attempting to get my attention, and Colin seemed to know who she was, so he brought news that she was here back.
Seems also a little neat to me. I don't know about you, but it seems a little neat to me. Because now there's someone who has a lever to really get your attention, and here's a design. I don't know. Now just keep in mind, I'm just an artist, but it all kind of ties together awfully well, and you have a pretty good distribution network. Again, I just paint and sculpt, so don't mind me any.
Seems like a weird way to get your foot in the door.
There was this one model that I had who really wanted me to paint her, but that's a different story.
I mean, I already said you just made a deal with the devil.
Now wait, hold on. Max, you just started a story in relevance to what's going on and then said, but that's a story for another day? That makes no sense. Anyway, yes, I know she is probably the main reason for all of this and saw an in because she's been watching. I don't know how well she would work with the people that apparently are holding my son, though. It seemed like Amalia was a bit freaked out by them, even though they're cousins or something. She kept saying cousins, so I don't know.
I don't know.
My guess would be she's orchestrated all that. Like she's behind it all. Well, I said it's a weird way to get your foot in the door. Must provide her some sort of leverage or something in her mind.
You never broker a deal unless you know what the outcome is. So, at least you have a good idea. It wouldn't be the weirdest thing that a person would do to kind of attain wealth and power.
Speaking of wealth and power, the two most liquid members of high society and money are concluding their conversation outside.
So, in your opinion, do you think it's wise to just play along for now?
We will cross our arms. I wish I knew more. When dealing with most members of the family, it's cutthroat. Sometimes there's affection. But again, when you dance with the dead, you lose your soul.
I guess we'll have to play along for now and play the long game in the future.
There is there's a certain awareness that comes from always having the understanding and ability that life is not the end. It is not the entirety of a line. Death doesn't cut off life, but is the continuation of the immortal soul that all living things are a part of. It's a philosophy that Amalia was bombarded with from the moment that she could hold a conversation until her eventual death. It has caused her to be extraordinarily wary, to always take in her surroundings, to find things worth exploring, things to hold her imaginations here in this world, because of being bombarded by all of the ephemeral touches of the worlds that connect with this one. The myths, the lore, the stories, the wives' tales that most have turned out to have some significant base in truth. In the doing so, in exploring this world as a counterbalance of everything that she's been bombarded with, she keeps an eye on her surroundings. In the doing, she watches as Kai eases from shadow to shadow, having taken the long way around the building. And he's good. Far too good for a man that is all muscle. At least probably was before he died. Because as far as you are aware, there's no building muscle upon death. There's no building muscle upon becoming kindred. And yet, he is significantly, as the kids say, jacked. And there he is, slinking shadow to shadow.
Amalia is gonna shake her head and just kind of gesture over her shoulder in the direction of Kai. And then she's gonna turn her head and look in his direction. Hello, Mr. Sneaky.
Well, hello. Got tired of the kids delling over alcohol. Whether that dude's actually gonna throw it up or not, I don't really care. What I do care about is what you two are actually talking about. I've been around the block. What are you two up to? And whatever it is, I want in.
Alcohol? What?
It's something they found. I'm not sure. Blood infused or whatever.
Oh, don't mind if I do.
At her initiation or other reunions, would they have had any of that blood wine there?
You hit the nail on the head. There was blood wine. It was an example of gratuitous wealth, even amongst kindred. With the average draught of blood itself, an actual enough blood from a human or a kindred to feed oneself, to take the edge off the beast, you're usually talking upwards of $1,500. And that's for just above medical grade. It's not the diluted stuff that, that's the red cells, blood cells, blah, 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 plasma and all of that. It's not the fractionated variety. But for the whole stuff, you're talking about 1,500. Blood wine, at least that small sake-sized bottle of it, was just under 25 grand.
Was it wine?
I don't know, some sort of alcohol. I don't really care.
Because I've had some really good infused wine. It was delicious and filling. She has some in there?
Like I said, I wasn't paying attention to them. I was paying attention to you two wandering off, canoodling.
We do not canoodle, sir. But I do want some of that alcohol.
Alright, then tell me what you guys were discussing if it was not canoodling.
I was simply trying to gather some more information and gauge exactly what our situation was without the
Non-taking actioners?
yes. Put it as bluntly as you did, yes.
Yeah.
I'm still
It's
of the
hurt.
mind that we can't act directly, but there's gotta be something we can do.
Like I said, I can always call some kind allies that I've been in previous contact with. Minimal, of course, but you know, they would never turn down shooting up someplace.
Whatever we
Distraction.
do,
But would
I
they
think-
turn down getting eaten?
Why would we tell them that?
whatever we do, we should all be doing it as a united front. Because acting behind the others' backs will only end up sowing division down the line. And I don't want that. I just met you all. I want this relationship to last for a long time. Let's not ruin it right away by throwing us all into the fire and shooting up a place, shall we?
When Aaron says that they just met, Amalia will put her hands on her hips and frown up at him.
I'm speaking generally. Yes, I know we've been friends for a long time.
But as a group, we've only just got our domain.
I'm still going to call my sire and see if maybe they have insights on the bankers.
You should ask him about the wine. It's really expensive, but really good. She'll just like
Wait,
energetically
how did
nod.
that wine get there then?
Oh, to the parties? The family reunion?
No, the one that we have.
I mean, there are unseen things all over the place. Some of them can even walk through walls.
From over Kai's shoulder, Raiden leans close enough that you can feel his breath against your neck. She is speaking of spirits. I'm sure you're aware of this.
Was that to Aaron or to Kai?
To Kai.
composure to see if I get fucking spooked.
Sure. DC 3. Fire away.
What? 3?
Raiden will do that, and Amalia will act spooked, like, I keep forgetting you're there. You're so quiet. Quieter than this guy. And she'll point at Kai.
Oh shit! I'm good.
It's practice. The half hour is nearly over. We should gather the other allies and make decisions.
And get some of that alcohol. Well, maybe not you. But yes, let's go back in.
Yes, let's.
So as the bog does not come flying out of Charlie, as it goes down and stays down, none of the potato-tinged tears dancing in her eyes as she fights to hold what she's imbibed down. If you're being perfectly honest with yourselves, the lightest touch of actual inebriation begins to crawl across her seeming. There's a light flushing of the cheeks as the alcohol begins taking effect. Her nose is you would bet money on it, is a little redder, as if the blood is flowing beneath her surface, moving from one portion to the next, which is an impossibility. You all are dead. That doesn't happen. Yet, if you're being honest with yourselves, you can swear that that's what you see taking effect. That first blush of that alcohol being imbibed, while it doesn't truly change the person's demeanor, it begins to make things easier to do. A loosening of standoffishness, a growing sociability. But Charlie is dead. That wouldn't happen. That can't happen, right?
Millie. I don't know about you, but I think you might want to figure out how to do that and make it wine, because I don't do beer.
Then you don't drink here. I only do beer. Wine is pretentious.
I am offended. I've never been more offended in my life.
No, it's relatively young, isn't it?
Give it a minute.
And I think we should do the wine thing, but yeah, if it didn't smell so noxious, I would try it, but it's beer, so, but yeah, I can't touch the stuff.
It's not fancy beer, though. You try one.
Smell makes me want to ag and paint in it. No thanks.
Suit yourself. More for me.
The moment you say ag and pain, and the door is opening, and Aaron, Amalia, and Kai are there.
Man, that was a quick canoodle. I thought it would take longer.
Did you notice the number changed? I don't think there was canoodling.
Fair point. Fair point.
Sorry to disappoint you all, but no, canoodling did not occur.
Only in your minds.
Because the old man cock-blocked him.
Amalia will look over at Kai. It's like, your mind first. And she'll like sniff the air and make her way over to the beer.
I thought a man wasn't supposed to kiss and tell. It also means like to not kiss and tell either, I thought.
Y'all gotta try this beer.
It's beer? Fuck,
Yeah.
I only drink scotch.
Amalia will pick it up and sniff it.
Room full of hoity-toities in here. You don't drink nothing no more, but you can drink this beer.
There is no way to properly describe the idea of actually drinking something, to actually imbibe, to be satiated by something other than the purest of life essences, the go juice that powers all of the humans and other living things around you. This beer, this bock in your hands, is a promise that you are not beyond God's grace. It's because beer is proof that God, in fact, loves you. And as Amalia holds it up and realizes that it is not a Pilsner, it is not an base, bare, minimum ale. It's a heavy, thick, rich bock. Not quite a full-fledged draft. Like, it's not a Guinness or a stout or that sort, but it's right in the middle of deliciousness. Just enough liquid bread to put meat on your ribs and joy in your heart.
Take a sip.
There's no reason for that to be perfectly cool. It's not warmed by the environment. There's enough body that it retains its temperature for a decent amount. And it's clear that Colin knows his stuff because he didn't expose it to much of anything before bringing it into this particular room. That's what was under the oilcloth when he wheeled past you all. And the glass is still lightly frosted. Lightly frosted. I don't know where that th came from. But it's lightly frosted. And because you, like everyone save Colin and Raiden, are dead and your blood doesn't circulate, your vitae doesn't move, you don't add any heat to the glass. It's so fucking good.
You will let out a little squeak of excitement. Ooh.
If only with wine, I could try some, but, you know.
Max, please.
Oh.
Amalia, seems your cousin has left us a present and a puzzle and a bit of bait, as it were, all wrapped into one.
He will chuckle a little bit. It's like, I've had similar before. It was wine.
Did you say wine?
Yes.
Ooh, wine.
Not to be the bearer of bad news, but wouldn't that mean that beer, or whatever the fuck it is, came from the people who kidnapped your kid?
I mean, not necessarily the beer itself, if it was brewed here, but certainly the additives.
Correct. The brew is our own. Colin would know whether or not it was something that we made. And anything down in the storage room is something I made. So that is very much our brew, but it's been added to, yes. By what means, I don't know yet. I'm looking into it, hopefully soon. But yes, you're correct in assuming that we think persons who slipped the bottle in, who told us about the bottle, and who may have facilitated the possible stealing of my son are all one and the same, working together at the very least.
And there it is. Speaking of working together. Go on, Max.
Oh, go on, Terry, tell her.
No. Max is asking a question.
Millicent, would it be out of the range of possibility that since it's brewed here and they have it here, that perhaps they showed someone how to do it, proof of concept, to see if it can be done, and then took them?
Oh, Amalia will just bust out laughing.
I know you ain't that much of a lightweight.
No, but it's entirely possible that members of the family would do that. Because we have proof of concept. We've, at least within the family, we've had it long ago. They were never concerned that it was going to fail.
So, what's she getting at then? She's showing that she's got leverage. She can do this whenever she wants. She wants to enter into some sort of business arrangement.
I don't know her brain.
All signs are pointing to yes. The magic 8-ball might be saying yes.
Does anyone have politics at 2 or more?
Yes.
To be some kind of roll, your wits plus politics. The higher, the better. Because listening to the theories, the hypotheses, the conjecture, with the taken as fact information that you already have, no one does anything without something to gain. No one will give of the charity of their heart without getting something back. From everything that you've been told thus far, Aaron, Ms. Rossi, a member of the family, is acting as your negotiator, your coterie's negotiator, to get back Millicent's child. And while yes, it would be a simple bow to tie her to all of this, to make it her as the catalyst. And while she more than likely was the instigating incident, the spark behind it all, the person that was able to take Millicent's child right beneath her nose while she was distracted, is more than likely the same individual that deposited this here. Though deposited seems highly unlikely, because no one would ask for a beer that's out of season. Storing it here as a way to offset the cost of the loan given sounds more likely, with Ms. Rossi simply being aware of the information exchange between Millicent's child and the Dunsons, seizing now to, as they say, kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
To make sure I understood that, we're basically saying that Sophia was probably not the person who put it here, but rather it was the person that kidnapped Millie's child. But Sophia was aware of it and was cashing in on it.
Yes, Ms. Rossi was cashing in on information they had, applying pressure 2 ways instead of just 1. There's something else afoot for sure, but that sounds more apropos to Aaron. In fact, it's something that he might have done if given enough time.
So I take it I kind of came up with the same thing.
Yes.
Chiswick said Colin. The boy almost dug his own grave, it seems. He let them in here, and they brewed it here. Secrets were shared. She just knew what happened and used it to her advantage.
Is that the reason she's trying to drive me off from having the boy do what he was doing? She's the one who put the bug in her ear about his poor business plan with the yeast, with the hops, and had us sniffing around to make sure he wasn't screwing things up as bad as it seemed.
So this has been a long time in planning. At least part of it, and then some other things fell into place, and now we are ripe for the plucking, as it were. Well, I guess that leaves us to find out ourselves how much we are willing to try to gain from all of this, seeing as how we were the fucked and not the fucky this time.
I'd say we work with them personally. What else we can pull from them, and then we leave them high and dry.
Good luck with that.
Did you? What was that? She looked at Amalia because she's wondering about Amalia, but how Amalia's feeling about this anyway, being that they're loosely related.
Leaving them high and dry. Good luck with that.
I agree. It would not be smart to enter into this and then suddenly decide we would backstab. No, that is not my plan. My plan is to make this profitable, more so for us than for them, which is fairness. And then, at a mutually beneficial point, split ways. Not stabbing in backs.
I can practically tell you that it's going to be profitable.
Will there be an out when we need it?
Doubtful.
And there's the screw. Because if we're trapped with them, then that means we're screwed.
Just depends on how ironclad you can get the contracts.
Well, as a writer of my own contracts, I know what to look for. And I will read everything over with a fine-tooth comb before I agree to anything further than was already agreed to. And that took a lot for me to agree to.
Speaking of agreeing to, aren't you going to start heading out? You have only a few minutes to get where you need to get to.
You are most correct. Again, do you wish to drive, or shall we take another driver and one of the spares?
I love your boy because he matters to you, but I've got to make sure there's no more of this floating around in our stock. I think I've got it all from the box section, but if this is there to be pulled by any of our numbskull bar staff, you know that we feeble humans can't quite stomach all of your wicked ways and what you need to imbibe.
Shit, I did not think of that. Yes, please. Inventory, please. To the side so that it can't be pulled by anybody but me or you. I'm not so ready to destroy this lovely gift we managed to stumble upon or be left with, but yes, please, pull it out of stock. We will figure a driving situation out on our own. And she extended towards Aaron and his man.
What?
We need a driver, and you have one. That was the entire point of my looking at you.
You know, I spent a few decades as a driver, right? A courier.
I can ride with you then.
We can all pile in my truck.
Or my station wagon.
Truck or station wagon?
Yeah, station wagon.
Is that a third option?
Alright,
Kai says
guys, I
station
didn't
wagon.
bring my Jeep today.
When Kai says station wagon, Millie knows Max is going to be the first to react, but she is not far behind. The face she makes is like somebody just smeared elephant.
You would have
on
seen the
wall.
car before, though. You would have seen the car before. It's got. I'm gonna say it's got one of the doors is severely dented. You don't know why it's dented or how it was the way it was dented, but it is severely dented. And whenever you open the door, it makes a loud fucking noise.
I'm gonna say, judging by what we know of Kai, it's probably fists.
Don't forget persons' heads, chests, arms, and various other appendages slammed repeatedly into
Right,
them.
those two.
Shoulders, knees, and toes.
Shoot, chicken. If your person can drive, I have a limo that I keep for business occasions.
Raiden, are you up for the task?
This shit's gotten me through so much fucking shit.
It is an untested vehicle, but if that is what you wish, then we shall do our best.
Well, we have our driver then.
What exactly do you mean by untested?
So y'all taking a limo to a chicken farm.
Raiden looks from Charlie, doing his best to not nod agreement, but then looks towards Millie and back to Aaron. The question clear as he looks at Aaron. Should he?
He nods.
Madam LaRue Black, what I mean by untested vehicle. Your limousine is designed for comfort, for style. How does it handle in the sprint? What is its maximum speed that can be maintained safely? At what speed does it lose maneuverability? How armored is it? Is it armored at all? What is its gas mileage, as we will need to potentially flee a hostile situation? What is its maximum load capacity, considering there are 6 of you, plus myself, and potentially your son and another individual, Miss Rossi? All of these factors need to be proven, as we are heading into a potentially fraught situation. If we must evacuate quickly, who should we leave?
She frowns softly. Do you have a better vehicle in mind with the amount of people we have to take?
I believe there is a truck, a station wagon, and a lovely armored outfitted town car available to transport a portion of the gathered to the location. I can assure you that the town car, under every situation, will safely evacuate the location. As far as the others, I cannot make any promises, but there is much better odds with a divided target instead of a grouping of one large number.
Alia will raise her hand. It's like, well, I brought my BMW, but if we have to leave someone behind, I'm probably relatively okay.
I don't plan on leaving anyone behind.
My truck's practically a force of nature if anyone wants to ride with me.
Same with my station wagon. What do you mean it's long?
I'll ride with someone, but there's no way I'm driving my car, so that's just not happening. And a truck and a station wagon are both rather unpalatable, but we'll
Hey,
figure
she's
it out.
purty.
Two persons in each vehicle gives the maximum maneuverability while keeping everyone together in a caravan. And if the matter does not become fraught, allows everyone to reconvene here safely.
Now, who else besides me and Mr. Driver over there can, fucking drive?
I could drive, but I'm not taking my car.
All right.
Can I or do I?
I don't even want to ask what the fuck that means.
Sometimes
All right,
I forget
so-
where I'm going.
Okay, so you're not driving. Max, you take whatever car you want, since you seem picky. I'm taking my station wagon, and I guess you'll take the truck then, actually, Max. If the driver's gonna take the, town's car? Is that what you called it?
It's a lovely town car. Very comfortable.
All right. Sound like a plan then? Mill?
She's gone quiet for a minute because she's thinking about what's about to happen and in all the many ways it could go wrong. But then Kai calls her again. She looks up. Which car is not going to fall apart once we get into it? I'll ride with that
Station wagon.
person. Fine, Kai, I will go with you.
No promises on that truck, though.
You want to go head to head in the truck against the station wagon? I'll help you pick up the pieces.
No, we don't want to draw attention to ourselves. We're not racing. Besides, you'd lose. I don't want to humiliate you.
And I want to talk about racing.
Aaron, do you have room in your town car?
Absolutely.
Bless you. Bless you. Bless you.
Someone give me directions. I'll meet y'all there.
Raiden looks from Amalia to Charlie. You two are taking separate vehicles.
Well, no one wants to ride in my truck. It's not as good as a station wagon.
It's fine, Charlie. I'll ride shotgun with you.
And though it's presumptuous, Amalia is the foremost who understands where to meet, or Millicent. They should be in the lead vehicle of this particular caravan.
I'll gesture at Millicent. It's her kid. She should be in front.
Squaring her shoulders and nodding, and she stops to speak to Colin really quick on the way out. I don't know what condition we will get him back in. Please make sure his room is prepared for him. And on the off chance he doesn't make it back, you know where his plans are, I'm sure. I'll see you as soon as I can. And she walks out the door.
I follow suit.
I walk out towards the parking lot area, looking around.
There is something about being in a group, united in purpose. There's no way to quite put your finger on it, because even disparate, even lost in your own thoughts, if you are, as Kai is, taking in the weight of the scene, it sends a message. It sends a palpable sense of the potential that lies here. As you all move out into the night, moving toward the vehicles parked as they are, and taking off south away from the murder corner, heading towards Tower Farm, which is just south of 6th. It's relatively a short drive. It's one of the 2 poultry farms actually inside the city proper, with Tower Farm being just northeast of Milwaukee Airport, i.e., General Mitchell International. It's in an area that allows you, if you would need to, if you would like to actually take the expressway down, to take 94 where it turns into, the 41 down to where it turns into 94. And while for the average living citizen of Milwaukee, that's the only way to go. Why would you take any other way? Yeah, you can get there by taking the back roads and taking the streets, but why? It would take forever, which is just the opposite for most kindred, because getting trapped on the expressway, getting trapped where you don't have the opportunity of disappearing into the camouflage of mortal society, is usually a death sentence. While everyone knows that driving on the expressways in the Chicagoland area is death itself, it is a contact sport that requires nerves of steel. And even more so if you're living and breathing. Milwaukee isn't that far behind. Their definition of speed, or speeding, doesn't exist. You can go as fast as you are able to. And what that means is, as long as there's no cop, you don't stop. As long as there's no helicopter keeping track of the traffic, there's no reason to go to speed limit. The speed limit is just a suggestion for losers. Because if you're not first, you don't matter. All of that preamble to ask, how will you all arrive? Would you take 41 down across the 94 and then get off there just north of the farm by getting off there on Howard and then moving over to 6th and taking that down? Or will you take 6th all the way down, roughly? There are several other ways you can take, but those are the two most direct.
Charlie would pick a route that would let her get a little sense of the lay of the land as they're approaching the place.
So streets, it is. And that's excellent choice, partially because being as you all are at that middle management, key holder, shift leader sort of position as regards to the status of the city, accepted and respected members potentially of the city's power structure. An example that everyone can change their stars. Everyone has the opportunity of being more than what they were previously. Whether that's a larger target and a better victim or powerful. You can change your stars in any number of ways, and that's what the coterie thus far has exemplified. They, while connected to and associated with individuals with actual social power here in the fine domain of the Cream City, they themselves were only by proxy, by proximity, close enough to touch power without actually having to be responsible for wielding it. That's changed. So taking 6th, avoiding most of the checkpoints spread throughout the city to make sure that too many kindred didn't gather, making sure that, well, the realm was safe from lupine incursion, making sure that the ash heads don't get out of line. As you all make your way, it's hard for Max to not grouse. He is still paying for fucking protection. He is still receiving no discounts. And barring the last few nights, he hasn't had the opportunity to spend any amount of time in his comfortable surroundings because he's been busy doing the job that he was forced into. This is not his definition of a dream job. From watching Kai bash humans against a police car, an unmarked police car, to almost being shot, to watching Cassandra disappear, fade into the night, no one's heard from her. This is not his dream job. This is just too much work and not enough pay, and he's not getting a discount. And now he finds out that his coterie members are beer drinkers as well. And then there's Kai, riding along with Millie. It's hard to not see the waste. In the coterie alone, there's an average income high enough to make a real difference in several neighborhoods throughout the city. The coterie alone has been the cause of the breaking of a potential union, because that's what he views the anarchs as. They're just a union of well-meaning kids. Given enough time and enough patience, they eventually will become Camarilla. There's no other way. It has a natural gravity, safety, strength, protection. They were just acting out. Them being made examples of puts their immortality on the coterie's hands. And they have enough funding, they have enough monies at their fingertips to make a difference in at least a neighborhood. That's all it takes. Changing the life of one neighborhood, and you could change the fate of a city. He's seen it happen several times throughout Milwaukee's history. 100 years is a long time. And then Millie. Money is power. At least that's what everyone says. But so far, the money hasn't helped her. The coterie has. These kindred are putting their stake, their status on the line for her at her say. And while sure, there's the push to do more, to avenge, to protect their good name, but they're still bodily here, putting a portion of their immortality in her hands based on her trust and say-so of Ms. Rossi to protect her family. There's not many kindred who would give so much as a coupon to help another, yet here all of these disparate and different kindred are marching to the beat of being of similar mind and the same purpose, the same goal. And as those thoughts settle in, and we move along to Charlie, while everyone else is focused on achieving the small goal of tonight, there's something that's been percolating in her head since watching her sire, who she's seen slap box with God effectively, outnumbered, outgunned. He let an anarch slip past him. Not any anarch. An anarch that declared themselves barren inside the city limits. He backdoored the coterie so that they would have a domain after it was all said and done. Not any domain, but the same domain that the Baron had declared himself the Baron over. And there's a gang war between the gangs of the police department and the gangs of the street brewing. There's change in the air, and there's shots being fired under the cover of dark. Some of them haven't hit their mark and no one's paid attention to them, but this coterie, are on the front line of whatever this change is. You all are deciding factors in what happens next. It's a weighty idea, and it's far more responsibility than Charlie had ever planned on having. And then there's Amalia, sitting there in the passenger seat, taking in the view, realizing that the freedom of the agreement, of the contract between the family and the Camarilla, there's only about 7 years left on it. No, not even that. 2028 is only, 6, 5, all too soon. Time is just speeding past. And knowing what she does about several branches of the family, there's one commonality of the family. They play to win. They plan, they plot, they execute. If the wars that are being fought and have been fought amongst the family are a sign of anything, it is that they will do whatever it takes to not only survive but win, including sacrifice their own flesh and blood if need be. It's the societal version of a queen's gambit, sacrificing what seems to be the most powerful piece on the board and what others ascribe an unlimited amount of power to. Sacrificing things that you, most average persons in your shoes, would never dream of, and doing so willingly, instigating such things to assure their victory. And you're heading to their murder facility inside the city with no one knowing where you all are. And then there's Aaron. too much sense business-wise. The brewery has distribution across the city. It supplies several other bars, several other nightclubs. What they make is really, really good, and it's relatively cost-effective enough that others can make a profit off of it. It's a network that is rife to be utilized to actually do more than provide entertainment. And then there's the bankers. Their whole reason for being is profitability. It doesn't make sense for them to move this quick unless, of course, there's something else at stake. Offer one thing, go big, so that when you come on a counter offer far smaller, the yes is all but already in place. The yes is given, thankfully. They swung high, they swung big. They made a threat against a member of the city who had allies, associates, retainers, and they were sure they can get away with it. That doesn't quite add up. There's something else going on. And all too soon, thoughts aside, you are there at the farm. The area around it, space around it, there on 6th, is green and verdant. You're far enough outside of the city center for things to be quiet, like they say in the movies and books and TV shows, quiet, too quiet. The farm sits there at the corner of 6th and Waterford, and unbeknownst to most, the cul-de-sac there on 10th, the families up and down the lane on 10th Place, and all up and down 9th. There's everything off of 6th. Even that across the street, they're going towards Milwaukee's Garden District, is owned by the family Dunson. It is their stronghold right underneath everyone's nose. Many of the families throughout the cul-de-sacs in and around the area, their herd and feeding pool. Many others simply placed there for the eventual plucking, fattening them up for their last best meal of their existence. But as you all ease down 6th, things get a little difficult. Straight down 6th, the overpass for the expressway. To your west, fields which lead to other cul-de-sacs near and around the expressway itself. The only way to get on the expressway is via Howard Avenue, which is behind you. That quarter mile from Waterford to Howard, all but empty space sitting here on 6th. The lights are suburban, dimmed, yellow, spread far enough apart that they might as well not be there. They offer the illusion of security and brightness that comes with street lamps, but they don't offer any of the illumination. The smell of poultry waste is high and strong, which explains why there are not many houses near and visible. But there's an impossibility of looking on this processing plant, this farm, and not realizing what it is. You're sure that it looks different during the day, with all the chickens moving around or being prepared, taken here and there, with all the trucks taking the chicken meat to various places around the city, county, state, and country. But here in the dark, with the lights on the building dim enough that you can't tell whether that's red or wine or hell, it might even be blue in truth. The cool night wrapping its arms around you, that this is a place of death. Those of you who've managed to obtain blood from the dealer there at the guard shack further into the property, ignore that aspect because the obtaining of blood is the most important thing for kindred. You'd be willing to stick your head in a lion's mouth if you were promised that you could drink your fill afterwards. But here, now, on a mission of rescue, it looks like what it is. This is a place where things come to die. And as you all exit the vehicles, after taking a look around, making sure you're not in anybody's sniper sight, making sure that your cars aren't really noticed, you realize that the only way to park is further across Waterford. You realize that you are further west into the heart of the territory. You see several other town cars, a couple of vans, a few of the tractor trailers still here. You're not sure whether there's too many vehicles for this hour of the night or too few vehicles. As everybody exits the vehicle, everyone gathers themselves. With a moment to spare and talk amongst yourselves, is there anything you all would like to say? Because this is the moment where things change.
I'm not really a military guy, don't know tactics, but should we be all so close together right?
Charlie would probably break off as soon as she got out of the car and look for high ground.
I would stick close to Millie.
I'll stay close to Kai.
I guess I will stick with Aaron and Raiden because they're both much bigger than I am. I can hide behind them.
So preparing to march towards your death, each of you take up positions of strength and power or places that you can hide. Places where there's something else between you and the impending violence that smells instantaneous. It smells like rain. It's amazing how storms and violence smell so similar, but it does. There's a little electricity in the air. The main farm building is the large squarish building with the corrugated roof. The processing plant is the brick building, which is strangely enough 3 times larger than the processing plant. Then just across Waterford, directly perpendicular to the processing plant, is all of the consumer facing side of the farm where you can pick up, chicken parts, whatever part you want, shrink wrap to order, and what have you. The dirt road from the processing plant where the trucks back in and they're loaded up and carted out is, just that, a dirt road. It's decently maintained because of the weight of the tractor trailers, but otherwise it's unremarkable and undifferent, just as similar in regards to a jail or a prison. Blocky, depressing, drab. Bars on all the windows. And the lights on the buildings, processing plant, and what have you, are dim enough that you have to get close enough to see the color of the building, even with your heightened vision and visual acuity. Charlie moving due north to gather more safety and high ground instead of walking down the central path from the parking towards the farm, realizes that you guys since long before you crossed Howard, you all didn't pass many other vehicles. In fact, if you're being perfectly honest, ever since you passed Oklahoma, you haven't had any other vehicles move past you. Ever since Colonia, cars have been few and far between. And while it is technically in the city as far as things are concerned, this is the Wilson Park area of the city. It's technically a suburb unto itself. If you go due east, you'll find yourself in the midst of nothing but sheer unadulterated wealth. But here, you're just close enough to count as being part of Milwaukee as a whole, and secluded enough that if you want to make someone disappear, this is the place where that could happen. You're sure that The Purge was a biographical movie about this area of Milwaukee. There's not even the sound of night birds in the distance. And realizing that you all are heading into a life-changing moment, a before and after moment, with the fate of a coterie at stake, I'd like to thank you all for a lovely episode, and I'll see you guys next time. Good night, everybody.
Oh, you fucking. Love you, nobody.
Right? It's fine. It's not like we're all gonna die or anything.